Good evening and welcome. I'm Selena Mead with the Vsb TV 11 Evening News on this Monday, July the 28th. Our top story tonight, Friday's People's March participant Peggy Burns today rejected claims that march organizers condoned her carrying a placard which made references to white mental illness. Ms. Burns said when two marshals refused to let her carry the sign, she in fact used a double sign, the other side expressing another sentiment. She tells VSB's Charles Webb her actions reflected the frustration she and many others are feeling.
Racism can very often is used broadly and could mean many things to many people, but when you really break it down, it really refers to mental illness, mental disorder, or insanity, or MIMD. And I went further to say that language, I know, like the media, has a great power and influence over the way people think and behave, and that we need to stop referring to this irrational hatred and hurtful treatment of black people as racism and start calling it what it really is: mental illness, mental disorder, or insanity.
But given that the People's Campaign are working to try and address these particular issues, I'm wondering if you feel that it's helpful to have these types of what most people now consider an inflammatory sign. Do you think that's helpful?
Well, it's how one perceives something. But to live every day, every waking hour of the day, is an inflammatory experience. May I make a quick quote by African-American actress who said, Alice Childress? She said, "I believe racism has killed more people than speed, heroin, and cancer, and will continue to kill until it is no more." What I gave expression to, and is what a lot of people are feeling, is the pain, the sadness, the anger, and also fear.
KeyTech will be entering into an agreement to sell 100% of its interest in the Bermuda Telephone Company Limited to Berry Opco Limited, an investment group with extensive experience in the telecommunications sector. KeyTech CEO Lloyd Frey says, "We are excited about these transactions as they are the right strategic fit for the long-term growth of our company. It allows our group to expand and focus its investments in the best interest of all stakeholders in both Bermuda and Cayman." Roy Gordon, director of Berry Opco Limited, said that his company is thrilled to have this opportunity to invest in Bermuda and that he is confident that an independent BTC has a bright future as a thriving part of the Bermuda telecommunications landscape. The transactions remain subject to a number of conditions, including regulatory approvals in Bermuda and in Cayman. In other news, the human rights charity CURB, Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda, was forced to cancel its annual Tag Day, scheduled for last Saturday, at short notice when it learned that the Charities Commission had deferred approving its annual renewal application. CURB President Mark Nash confirmed the decision with Vsb News, and Brian Darby reads us that statement for now.
Mr. Nash said that CURB began the annual process of renewing its charity status in June, in advance of the July the 10th renewal date. It received a couple of follow-up questions, which it answered in a timely fashion, he said, and as of mid-June, its impression was that we had met the requirements for renewal. Despite this, late Thursday afternoon, CURB received a letter via email from the Ministry of Home Affairs Charity Commission advising them that the application to re-register had been deferred pending requested changes to our bylaws and the receipt of a breakdown of our donations and expenditures. We then contacted the appropriate office in government on Friday, he said, and they advised that as our application for annual renewal was deferred, CURB could not proceed with fundraising via the Tag Day on Saturday. Brian Darby reporting for VSB News.
The National Hurricane Center is giving a tropical disturbance located 500 miles southwest of the Cape Verde Islands a 70% chance of developing to something more threatening by the end of the week, by which time it is expected to be passing above the Lesser Antilles and heading west-northwest towards the U.S. East Coast. The system is traveling at 10 to 15 knots into warmer weathers, and if it eventually strengthens into a tropical storm, it will be called Bertha. The murder trial of 20-year-old Darian Simmons and 32-year-old Jakio LaShore continued in Supreme Court. The two men are accused of shooting and killing David Clark on April 17th of 2011. The two men are further charged with using a firearm to commit an indictable offense. They have denied all charges. The jury heard testimony from police officers who tended to the crime scene and who patrolled it throughout the night. The murder occurred on North Shore Road in the area of Bandroom Lane. The court also heard testimony from the doctor who examined David Clark's body. It was concluded that the victim was shot in the head and shoulder. A bullet was later recovered between the skull and the skin, and it was determined that the gunshot wound to the head was a fatal shot. The trial continues. The decision of the Corporation of Hamilton to go ahead with its controversial scheme to remove the avenue of trees from the center of Ewing Street to permit road widening was deplored today by BEST. Instead, says BEST President Stuart Hayward, the logical thing to have done, that is to create a one-way traffic system that would retain the trees, the parking and the road width, has never been discussed at meetings. The residents now fear that their street is being callously groomed as a thoroughfare for industrial traffic that has been prohibited from approaching the TCD via Tills Hill. And Mr. Hayward points that anyone believing corporation promises that the trees should be replanted should look at Baron Elliott Street, which itself once supported a tree-lined median street and suffered the same fate.
Hey, Donja, St. George's fan, 12 o'clock.
I see you got the colors on. Yes, by go Somerset. What? I mean St. George's. St. George's all day.
Hey, quick, Somerset fan.
You guys going to the game?
Nah, we guys are just gonna stay here and have a barbecue. We know Somerset's gonna win anyway. We're gonna listen to the radio.
Somerset! St. George's!
Are you serious?
What is going on?
Hey, Bermuda. It doesn't matter who you support. As long as you buy Family Center Cup Match ribbons, every Bermuda family is a winner.
Are you frustrated and confused by complex online banking systems? The quickest, easiest way to pay bills is with EasyPay.
Very simple to use.
Everything's all on one page. Like you don't have to click on this and go over there and then click on something else and go over there.
We use it for everything. We do our payroll, our local vendors.
I wouldn't change it in any way.
And the cost is minimal.
And the fees are extremely reasonable.
I highly recommend EasyPay.
Bill payment doesn't get any easier than EasyPay. Email Dal at easypay.bm.
Bermuda is an easy way to find great discounts while discovering fun activities to do in Bermuda.
Discover the best spas, restaurants, activities, services, and shops at 50% off.
Sign up to Bermuda and start saving today.
Welcome back to Vsb TV 11. The highly anticipated Beach Fest is just a mere few days away. Truestick will be hosting the event, and one of the organizers, Gavin Smith, spoke to Vsb News about some changes that have occurred this year, such as the fact that the organizers do not have a liquor license. Mr. Smith also said that despite this, he is still expecting around 10,000 people to attend.
Technically, because we weren't able to get the permits enough time to maximize sponsorship and do some of the things that we had hoped to do, we've kind of pared back some of our infrastructure, but Beach Fest is 10,000 strong. It's been that way for years, you know, and for us it's just about making sure that it's as safe and tidy as possible, and we're grateful to have the Public Works Department ministry, on board to handle the safety and security today, as well as the cleanup, because in the past that's been purely our responsibility, and now they're kind of taking that, which is only makes sense for a public event like this here. And so part of what went on, I guess, in the run-up to Beach Fest this year has been that the fine-tuning of that agreement between how Public Works is responsible for safety and for cleanup, and how Chiefs is responsible for infrastructure and sort of the entertainment and activities, as well as supporting their efforts. That took some fleshing out, and now that we have that fleshed out, it just ran out of time to really maximize the liquor license. So we didn't even actually apply for the liquor license under the new MOU because we ran out of time to be able to really sort of wrap our heads mutually, both between the police and the ministry, around how that could be best served. So for us, we're doing the best we can on our campus. So you'll see security presence, and you'll see some of the cool and big fun things that we do in the past. So all the wacky races, the limbo, top shelf entertainment, DJs of every genre, and of course the finalists of the Beach Fest Crown Song Competition.
Beach Fest is sure to be a fun event. It'll be held at Horseshoe Bay on Thursday, July the 31st from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. Recently, Premier Michael Dunkley recognized more than 24 private and public sector scholarship recipients who are studying for careers ranging from aviation to international business. Last week, the Premier participated in the 2014 Association of Bermuda International Companies Education Awards ceremony, where he praised the accomplishments of 17 scholarship recipients. The Premier highlighted the fact that in the last decade, over $5 million has been donated towards the program. Also last week, the Premier recognized 9 Bermudians who were recipients of the 2014 Bermuda Government's Bursary and Professional and Technical Trainee Scheme Awards. This year's scholarship allocation was $150,000 for the 9 individuals who were studying in fields such as electrical engineering and aviation. Premier Dunkley encouraged the scholars to continue to strive for excellence and to broaden their knowledge. Now, let's take a look at the daily markets presented by Bias.
Here are the daily markets presented by Bias. U.S. Treasury yields closed higher, and U.S. stocks reversed early losses to trade little changed, while oil retreated. U.S. stocks were mixed as merger activity and optimism over corporate earnings offset concerns over crises abroad. The Dow closed at 16,983, a gain of 0.13%. 6,000 shares of Ascendant traded hands today. Ascendant closed at $6.20, unchanged on the day. Most UK stocks dropped today as a report showed pending house sales in the US unexpectedly declined last month. The FTSE 100 index closed at 6,788, down 0.05%. The Nikkei 225 gained 0.46% to close at 15,529, a 6-week high, as a report by the Nikkei paper claimed that casino openings in Japan could come before the 2020 Summer Olympics. The Vsb fell as a 4-week rally based on speculation of a change in government was deemed excessive. The Vsb closed at 57,696, a decline of 0.22%. Treasury prices fell and yields rose, with 2-year yields reaching the highest level in almost 3 weeks, on expectation that the Fed will reduce monthly bond buying. 5-year yields closed at 1.71%, an increase of 3 basis points. The U.S. dollar fell against most of its major peers on speculation that the U.S. economy failed to rebound as much as investors forecast in the second quarter. That was a look at the daily markets presented by Bias. People and Places is next after the break.
Start grilling this cup match with Purdue Fresh chicken thighs or drumsticks, $1.99 per pound. Juicy whole seedless watermelons, $12.99 each. For your mac and cheese dish, Catelli macaroni, $1.89 for a 500-gram box. Save $1.71 on Libby's mayonnaise, $4.09 for a 32-ounce jar. For the holiday, 6-packs, regular or Diet Coke, $4.99. Have a safe and enjoyable Cup Match holiday from the marketplace.
You can count on us.
The celebration of a Bermuda cricket legend is brought to you by Balco, Lindo's, Bex, Butterfield and Vallis, BAC, Colonial Insurance, Corona, Bermuda Bistro, and BF&M. Clarence Tuppence Parford has long been considered the very best bowler Bermuda has ever produced. He played his first Cup match in 1965 for St. George's Cricket Club. His left-arm medium pace was a menace for all the Somerset batsmen from the time he started playing until the year he retired from the Classic in 1981. In 1976, Clarence was the first person to take 9 wickets in one inning and the second person to take 100 wickets in the Summer Classic. To date, he has claimed the most wickets in the annual Classic, racking up a total of 115 wickets between 1965 and 1981. In 1988, Clarence left Bermuda to play professional cricket in Scotland and today is employed as a cricket development officer in Scotland and spends his time developing the talents and skills of the youth. Clarence Tuppence Parford, celebrating a Bermuda cricket legend.
TNT Video Productions this year are proud to partner with DeFonts Broadcasting Company Limited to bring you live coverage of Cup Match 2014 at 9 a.m. on July 31st and August 1st from Somerset Cricket Club on Vsb Tv 11. Brought to you by lead sponsor HSBC and major sponsors Department of Youth, Sport and Recreation and Digicel. Participating sponsors Lindo's Group of Companies, Cablevision, Paradise Games, Hunt's Food and Supplies, Argus, Ace, Ultimate Imaging, and BTC via the BTC Broadband Network.
I'm Peter Jovesic, host of Season to Taste. Tune in for the Cup Match special on Tuesday night during the Vsb TV 11 News. I'll be here with Norm Macross from Outerbridge's Sherry Peppers. She'll be preparing this lovely Cup Match dish of rockfish with almonds and Hopping John, and find out what the Gosling's wine of the week is.
Tuesday during the Vsb TV 11 News.
People and Places is next with Charles Webb.
People and Places with Charles Webb is brought to you by Big Savings Zone at the end of Stocks Road, St. David's.
With 23 years of umpiring cricket and 12 Cup matches under his belt, you might say that George Trott knew all there was to know about cricket. The 86-year-old former umpire broke no nonsense from officials, players, or spectators. As we approach Cup Match this week, we salute this grand old man of cricket who ran the game with a firm hand.
You know, I umpired with Randy Butler and these type of people that are very good.
Now, cricket in those days, I think, I hope I'm right in saying, was far more disciplined, was it?
Far more disciplined. The players, had a lot of issues, especially when I came on the field. When they saw me, well, they said, "Oh, you guys, you got to straighten up today." And I didn't have no problem with them. The problem you have today, I didn't have no problem with those guys. It was it's just like when you don't know the laws.
What would you say was the best period of cricket during your time?
During my time, in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and the 70s. Then it started to, get a little slack. And the guys were more respectful at that time.
Now, there was a time when I could remember cricketers wore dress whites.
All in whites, yes. All in whites, pure head whites. Well, I don't know what happened to that, but, just like all over the world, they dress for different games. And us, as a little island like this, we stuck with the white. Only once in a while they'll bring in a game and some type of whatever they use to to do this game, you can dress in different clothes because of the game that they decided to play. And they dress in different colors, pants and shirts and whatever, uniforms.
What would you say is the biggest challenge facing an umpire?
Well, you know, one thing I gotta say, the thing of it is, if you're umpiring a match like cup match, right, there's going to be some words come down from the grandstand or wherever that you hear, and you wonder why they're saying these things. They don't know what they're talking about, you know, and it really goes through you. You know, talk about your mother, your father, you know, and things like that. But I was so glad when I stepped on the field at times. They had a lot of respect, and everybody seemed like they, you know, well, Mr. Trott's there, I'm going to curb my disciplines, you know, and things like that. But otherwise than that, you know, I think that's the reason why that our standard is not as high as it should be. At one point, people were knocking shoulders with a lot of the teams around the world. And now we're going back so far.
Having been an umpire for all those years, we have cup match coming up. What team do you side with?
Neither. I side with Vsb.
No matter which team you favor to win, we can all agree that cricket is a better game with George Trott having been a part of it. For People and Places, I'm Charles Webb. Vsb News.
People and Places with Charles Webb has been brought to you by Big Savings Zone at the end of Stocks Road, St. David's.
Now at Big Savings Zone, there's the Kids Zone. See the latest bedroom ideas for tots to teens. There's a large selection of beds, bedding, all kind of furniture designed especially in mind for your child. And see the array of accessories for all ages. Big Savings Zone is the home of Ashley Furniture and certain mattresses in Bermuda. And the Kids Zone is only at Big Savings Zone at the end of Stocks Road, St. David's.
Now let's see what's happening in the world of sports with Earl Baisden.
Roy Allen Birch has qualified for the men's 50-meter freestyle semi-finals at the Commonwealth Games in Scotland earlier today. Birch finished third in Heat 7, touching the wall in a time of 22:68 at the Towcross International Swimming Centre. Birch's time saw him finish 9th overall heading into tonight's semi-final. First 25 meters he's on point right out there, but it looks as if the end he's losing a bit of control and speed. How do you technically correct that to make sure he can get through tonight?
It's really thinking about that portion. You know, obviously when you get there with the atmosphere and you get worked up, you tend to forget some of the details. You know, he's going to rest now between heats and semifinals, and then, you know, as we're getting closer to the time, he'll be thinking about those fine points so that as we get there, obviously that will be the goal.
Over the weekend, Birch qualified for the men's 100-meter freestyle semifinals, where he finished 6th in Heat 1 of the semifinals with a time of 50:26, which is a personal best, and saw him finish 11th overall. In squash news at the Commonwealth Games, Michael Franklin went down in his third-round plate match in a 4-set battle. Franklin, taking on Joe Chapman from the British Virgin Islands, went down in the first game 11-5. Chapman would take the second game 11-9. Franklin will fight back and win the third set 11-6, but he could not keep that form as he went down 11-7 in the fourth. Nick Time went down in straight sets 11-6, 11-5, 11-9 in his plate quarterfinal match against Scott Fitzgerald from Wales. Turning to track and field in Scotland, Trey Houston missed out on a qualification spot for the men's 100-meter dash semifinals when he, running in Heat 8, finished 4th with a time of 10:72. Houston stumbled after coming out of the blocks, but was somewhat able to recover and pass a few runners on his way to finishing tied 36th overall out of 76 competitors. The Cup Match champions Somerset Cricket Club and challengers St George's Cricket Club have announced their teams for the upcoming 114th Annual Cup Match Classic, which will take place at the Somerset Cricket Club this coming Thursday and Friday. The champions have recalled Deontay Darrow and Jordan De Silva, while the challengers have recalled Jason Anderson for Craig Crockwell, Kyle Hudson, and George O'Brien, while Shannon Rayner and Dalray Rollins were selected as coach for the challengers. So the teams are as follows: Somerset Cricket Club, Captain Chacon Edness, Malachi Jones, Vice Captain Gennaro Tucker, Chris Douglas, Jordan De Silva, Greg Mabry, Trey Manders, Derek Bringman, Deontay Darrow, Taryn Frey, and Jacoby Robinson. The challengers St George's Cricket Club have Aramde Bascom as captain, Rodney Trott as vice captain, O.J. Pitcher, Dalray Rollins, Shannon Rayner, for Craig Crockwell, Lateef Trott, Kyle Hudson, Lionel Cahan, George O'Brien, and Jason Anderson. We can also reveal the men who will officiate the Classic. Oscar Andrade and Emerson Carrington will stand in the middle, with James McCurdy as the third umpire. Roger Dill will stand as the match referee. Janai Parent-Chief put on a show during the first day of the Netherlands Track and Field Championships in the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam. The youth Olympic-bound high jumper finished second with a top leap of 2.08 meters in the men's high jump. Jillian Teixeira won the 1.45-meter jumping competition in two phases class on the third day of competition at the Glock Horse Performance Center in Austria. Teixeira and Lafavals set the test. She rode speedily and with a time of 37.19 in the second phase set a benchmark which was not to be outdone. I'm Earl Baston reporting from Glasgow, Scotland for VSB Sports.
That should do it. Enjoy your new shower.
Experience the bold look of Kohler at a Kohler registered showroom.
For your Cup Match picnic, save half price on Dole Coleslaw. $1.99 for a 14-ounce bag. Frozen baby back pork spear ribs, $2.99 per pound. Brush on your favorite ribs. Kraft barbecue sauce, $1.69 for an 18-ounce bottle. 3.75-ounce bag, all varieties. Wise potato chips, just $1.49. Breyer's ice cream, $6.29 for all varieties of 48-ounce tubs. Visit our website at www.marketplace.pm for more Super Cup Match specials.
Outlast any storm with the most advanced alkaline battery. This weather segment is brought to you by Duracell Quantum.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend, and welcome to tonight's VSB weather forecast. Temperatures for today, we had a high of 85 at 2 in the afternoon and a low of 79 at 2 in the morning. Current conditions, 82 degrees, humidity is 75%, winds are blowing out of the south at 14 knots, and barometric pressure is steady at 30.17 inches. Rainfall index in the month of July, 3.98 inches, for a yearly total of 30.62. Yearly normal for this time is 31.04 inches. And taking a look at the satellite, high pressure to our east will hold moist southerly flow in place with little in the way of shower activity for the period. And looking at the gateway cities, Atlanta mostly sunny, 84, Boston mostly sunny, 77, Charlotte partly cloudy and 81, London 81 and sunny, Miami 91, partly cloudy, New York 77, partly cloudy, Orlando 94 and mostly cloudy, Philadelphia partly cloudy and 81, Toronto sunny and 70, and Washington partly cloudy and 81 degrees. Back at home tonight, partly cloudy with a low near 78. Winds are blowing out of the south, 14 to 18 knots. And tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud with a passing shower possible, high near 85. Winds blowing out of the south, 12 to 16 knots. Marine tonight, no warnings. Seas inside the reef, 1 to 2 feet. Seas outside the reef, 3 to 5 feet. And the sea surface temperature is 85 degrees. Marine tomorrow, no warnings again. Seas inside the reef, 1 to 2 feet. Seas outside the reef, 3 to 5 feet. Low tide will be at 10:52 in the morning, and high tide will be at 5:03 in the afternoon. And taking a look at the 5-day forecast, Wednesday, partly cloudy, high near 85. Thursday, mix of sun and cloud with a passing shower or two early, high near 85. Friday, going up to the game, both days looking great, mostly sunny with a high near 84. And Saturday, partly cloudy with a high near 85. Thank you to Fred Briley, our meteorologist for tonight, and everyone at the Bermuda Weather Service. I'm Rachel Sodden. Have a great evening.
Outlast any storm with the most advanced alkaline battery. Today's weather forecast was brought to you by Duracell Quantum.
We thank you for choosing to spend your evening with us at Vsb TV 11. Good night, Bermuda.
Wardrobe and makeup for Rachel Sodden, provided by Gibbons Company.
Vsb TV 11, Bermuda.